If you don't know what hangry is, it's when you're so hungry for food, for sustenance, that you start getting a little angry. You're a little snappy, getting a little attitude all about your business. And that's not okay to roll out that way. So, hangry. Have you ever seen the Snicker candy bar commercials where they show a person getting angry and looking like a completely different person, like Betty White, because they were so hungry that they were being hangry. And then their friend offers them a Snickers bar and poof, they turn back into themselves. They were hangry, but Snickers filled them up to make them happy, fulfilled, and no longer angry. Well, I'm sure the Mars company that makes a Snicker bar would love for us to think that all we need to do to make us no longer angry and to feel filled up is to have one of their delicious candy bars. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Snickers bars now and then, and, probably as much or more than the next person, but it can never pull off what Jesus has. So in the past, let me just set the scene. In the past, I had not always been a patient person, and I'm not saying that I'm completely one right now, but I'm way better than I used to be. I would get stressed out very easily. I would get annoyed with inanimate objects very easily, a trait I know I acquired from my father, who struggled with the same thing. I remember him getting mad at his flashlight for having dead batteries. I was a little girl looking up at my dad on the roof. He was checking the chimney, and he found out that the batteries were dead. It irritated him so bad that he threw it off the roof. I don't know how that's going to help someone be able to use their flashlight when they chuck it off a roof, just go and get some more batteries. That moment, he was so irritated that he just had to get it out of there. He just chucked it off the roof. And then in hindsight, quickly regretted it. But, being a child and seeing that's how my dad handled things, I feel like it really imprinted on me big time. It was summer and I wanted to wear my sunglasses. I dug out a pair and put them on my face. They sat crooked. I tried to adjust them. They sat crooked. I adjusted them again. They sat crooked. After a few more times of adjusting them to no avail, I ripped them off my face. I crumpled the wired frames into a ball, and I tossed them in the trash. In hindsight, I'm not sure how I thought that would help me to keep the sun out of my eyes. But apparently I felt scoring a win against an inanimate object was way more important than keeping the sun out of my eyes, I guess. Angry people are not the most rational people. I was talking to my husband this week after dinner about how we need to make more time for God and, trying to just talk about how we do it. Because when you get stuck in the day-to-day grind, God can very easily get misplaced and pushed to the side, and sometimes even pushed to the end of our day. And I find myself doing that. Find myself, getting so overwhelmed and inundated with a bunch of responsibilities as an adult and a mom and a wife and a homeschooling mom. I got my hands in all the pies that I feel like I'm not putting God first. And I'm going through my day hangry, and that's not cool. Nothing good comes from that, let me tell you. So during our discussion, he had felt that he also fell out of the habit the past week or so when it came to doing his Bible studies. And as a result, he realized he felt more annoyed and irritated with people around him. He had noticed that shift and had not really made the connection, though, between his bad attitude and him slacking off in his Bible studying until we actually were sitting down and discussing it and sharing our own concerns. I shared that I, too, have had to be extra intentional and putting God first in my day. It isn't something that will do it on its own. We have to do it. We have to make that choice. God has given us free will to choose Him from the very beginning, and making time for Him is part of that, too. We have no problem waking up and grabbing a bite to eat to keep us from being hungry, but we fail to see that depriving ourselves from the Word of God each day indeed turns us into hangry people. Hungry for the Word of God and angry because we are starving ourselves. I have noticed a huge change in my patience levels since I have been reading the Bible each day. This doesn't mean I haven't been tested. I still have bad days. I still have bad moments, but my ability to say, "Not today, Satan," has actually increased exponentially. I can say this because I had a really bad day last week, and I know that I would have handled it badly if I had been hangry for the Word of God. It was a beautiful day outside. Spring was in full effect. The sun was out, and it was in the 70s. A perfect, beautiful day in Michigan. But my kids asked if we could go outside, and I'm like, oh yeah, sure, why not? I can do my Bible studying outside in the sun. They can dig holes in my yard and look for bugs, like they do. Sounds perfect. We head outside. It was just as I pictured in my head. Then all of a sudden, my 5-year-old tells me he sees our dog across the street. I spring to my feet, and I check the backyard because that's where I had them, fenced in, safe and sound. And I only saw one out of the 3 dogs in the backyard. Great. Now I have 2 of my dogs running around busy roads. I stop and I say a prayer for their protection. Right away, because that's your first thought. It's like, oh, they're going to get hit by a car. I'm a horrible parent. I'm a horrible fur mommy. And then I try to figure out how am I actually going to get them back in. So I bribe them with food with much success. Once I got them in, I see they're covered in dirt and debris, most likely ticks because we were already having a lot of problems with those. So I decide to toss them in the tub. And then we get them all dried off and we head back outside. And then all of a sudden, my son noticed that our chickens now have escaped. I'm like, what is going on? Why are my chickens escaping? Chickens are harder. Let me just tell you, chickens are harder to capture than I feel like my dogs are. Because they have no rhyme or reason. Like, they're like, like running around all different directions. I go inside. I get all my old bread or anything that I think chickens might want to eat. I chuck it out. I get them in. Crisis averted. Yay. Yay. Now, I'm just telling you right now, like at that point, the old me would have already lost my mind. I would have already said a few expletives, probably promised myself a glass of wine later, but nope, not today, Satan. So, we lured the chickens in, and then now all of a sudden dinner time comes, and we head into wash up. What did I find on my floor? A puddle of pee from one of our dogs. The ones that were just outside for 4 hours. Yeah, apparently they just had to go. Had to go again. So I mop it up. Then I make dinner. I go to toss the garbage in the bin and it's full. I tie up the full garbage bag. I'll carry it to the front door to take it out. I turn around and I see a dark brown, nasty liquid had leaked all over my dining room floor. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? And my dogs have escaped, my chickens have escaped, my dog peed on my floor, and now I have this nasty liquid following me through half of my house. Are you kidding me? Not today, Satan. So I mop that up too. I feed and water my kiddos, and then I toss them in the tub, and I take my son out, and I send him on his way to go get dressed in his bedroom, and all of a sudden, I hear him yell, Mom, a dog peed in my room. I thought to myself, now how did they do that? I had all their bedroom doors shut. How did they get into a room with a shut door? Are you kidding me? So I go in there and I'm looking down at the carpet and I realize that the pee is actually in a corner of the closet. Now, I don't know about you, but I have 3 female dogs. Females don't just, cozy up to a corner of a closet, back in and do their business. They're going to do their business like they did in my dining room, right out in the middle of wherever, because, we're squatters. So it hit me. I looked at my son, his devious little face. I said, he didn't pee on the floor. This is you. You peed on the floor. He looked at me with a little devious grin and said, oh, how did you know? Not today, Satan. I am not going to get mad about this. I knew that my son, he's in this testing mode. He's 5. He's trying to always see how he can bamboozle his mother for his own enjoyment. And he sees now that mommy maybe have eyes in the back of my head because his jaw dropped. He had no idea. So now you see, had I been hangry, had my belly been running empty on the word of God, I would have lost my ever-loving mind 2 minutes into that particular day. The enemy wants us to remain hangry. He knows our hangry state not only affects us, but it affects everyone around us. And in my case, if I had went off like I would have in the past before I had my God belly full, I would have taught my kids to do some terrible things. They would have saw mommy lose her temper. They would have saw me say some colorful words. They would have saw me drink a glass of wine and console myself as I complain about my horrible day on social media. But I didn't do any of those things. None of those things. I was not running on empty. And I feel so blessed because of that. Because now I look back in hindsight, I wonder if my dad would have known that. I wonder if he would have known he would have had a flashlight had he not been hangry for the word of God. So, instead, I'm so proud that I got to tackle each event with the patience that I never thought I would have had, all because I had my belly full on the word of God. I was baptized in October of 2018. I've always loved God. I was in and out of the church my whole life, but this has been a game changer for me. I was reborn again in Jesus Christ. The old me died. The new me has 2 bellies now. I don't ever want to be hangry again. Let's be intentional and make time each day for God and his word. You might not think that you need to, but speaking from personal experience, we all do. You might be hangry and not even know, but those around you know. Jesus informed the devil of our need for the word of God. When he was being tempted by the devil in the wilderness, he replied to the enemy's taunts in Matthew 4:4, New King James Version, by saying, "It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God." Stay full, brothers and sisters. Stay full.